Hey you guys, Dr. Sharma here. If you guys are watching my videos and like my content, please do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps me keep all of this free. Not only is medical school a long and arduous route, but getting into it in the first place is also long, tedious, super hard, and extremely competitive. There's a bunch of things that I wish I would have known prior to going into medical school or even applying, things that I hope that you should know before you apply or think about going to medical school. A lot of people will tell you that you need a biology, biochem degree, or chemistry or some sort of biological, some sort of science degree during your bachelor's in order to go into medical school, which is absolutely not true. I wish I had known that, which I sort of did going into it, but despite that, I decided to go into biology and major and do a minor in chemistry prior to applying to medical school. What helped with that is that I did a lot of my prerequisites that are required for medical school, such as anatomy and physiology 1 and 2, the basic biosciences and chemistry, prior to actually applying. But you can still do those prerequisites and still major in something else, such as English, Spanish, engineering, whatever it may be. I have a friend who is an engineering major who was still able to apply to medical school even after they got their major because they had still done the prerequisites. Remember that there is a set of requirements of classes that you have to take, a set of courses that you have to pass in order for you to be eligible to apply to medical school. But that does not necessarily mean that you have to totally tunnel your vision into just doing a chemistry or biology major. You can major in something else. I wish I had known the number of volunteer hours and shadowing opportunities that you would require in order to actually apply and be competitive to apply to medical school. Each and every year, this is one of the graduate colleges that gets more and more competitive because more and more people want to do it. If you know early on during your undergraduate career that you're going to require a certain number of volunteering hours, which for some medical schools, let's be honest, there's an actual cutoff in order for you to achieve in order to even be eligible to apply to their program. I really wish I'd known that earlier during my undergraduate degree so that I could work on those things earlier on. Here's another thing that I wish I'd known earlier that you should know too. After medical school, there is a slew of different fields that you could go into, different number of specialties and subspecialties off of either surgery or medicine that you can go into that are completely different from one another. You can take one physician in one field, such as internal medicine, and compare that physician to another entirely different field, such as radiology, and they would have completely different lives. I mean, their everyday lives from start to finish, from waking up to sleeping at night, is going to be completely different. One is going to have office hours, one isn't. One is going to be talking to patients, and radiologists don't talk to patients at all. There is a huge difference and huge number of different careers that you could go past. A lot of people think medicine is just one thing. It's one career, one sort of path that you choose, but that's absolutely not true. There's a bunch of different specialties and every single one has a different lifestyle, has a different salary, has a different set of requirements of skills and tools that you would need to know to become good at that specific specialty. For example, if you're not good with your hands and you don't have a steady hand, you're not going to do something like surgery. If you're not really good with talking to patients, but you really know medicine and anatomy really well, you can consider something like diagnostic radiology or interventional radiology. Another thing I wish I'd known, and something that you'll be told time and again, is the amount of studying that you're going to have to do during those first 2 years of medical school. Now, I know I'm preaching to the choir when I say that, yeah, I mean, everybody tells you that you're going to be studying like crazy. You're going to be drinking from a fire hydrant and you won't even be able to handle it. But honestly, it doesn't become true until you're actually doing it. So I'm here to tell you right now, the amount of studying that you have to do in your first 2 years is ridiculous. And then again, this is coming from somebody who has to study a lot in order to do well. So is it possible? Yeah, you can do it. I'm an idiot. If you're an idiot, you can do it too. The thing is, you have to study a lot and try really hard in order to do it. I found a lot of techniques that work for me to make things easier, to make things a little bit more straightforward because I know exactly how I learn. You have to learn how you learn too. And I know that sounds super redundant, but if you can't figure out how information sticks in your brain, you're going to have a lot of trouble not only getting into medical school, but passing medical school. Another thing I wish I'd known about medical school was the financial burden. Now you're going to hear this a lot about the amount of student loans that you have to take out in order to train in this graduate medical institution in the US. The amount of loans that students have to take out for graduate medical education has far exceeded that of inflation. And by that I mean the cost of medical training today has exceeded the percentage of inflation in the US by a huge amount. It's ridiculous, but the US student debt was over $1 trillion back in 2018. Now, not one person is to blame here. It's true that the upkeep costs of having a medical institution and a teaching hospital does require a lot of money, I believe a lot of those costs are offset to medical students, and it's a little bit unfair. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't go into medical school, because know that there are a lot of payment options that there are available through Fed loans and through the federal government that will allow you to help make those payments in order to make them based on your income, meaning that you can pay lower payments when you apply for certain repayment models. The next thing I wish I'd known before going to medical school was the amount of bureaucratic tasks that are required of physicians from day-to-day lives. This is after medical school and maybe even the third and fourth years of your medical school training during clinical rotations. But the amount of paperwork and charting that you have to do, which takes away a lot of the time that you can spend face-to-face with your patients. I think this has a huge implication on the mental health and depression that we start to see in our physicians, especially those that are first healthcare workers on the front line that are taking care of our patients, which may really increase high stress levels in our physicians. This really takes a big toll on patient health in general. While I don't think this should sway you from going into medical school in the first place, I definitely think there needs to be an overall higher amount of awareness of this issue. Another thing that I'm so glad I knew before going into medical school was that you can totally take a gap year or any number of years that you need prior to going into medical school after college. I took 1 year, and I highly suggest you guys do that because it definitely prevents you from getting burned out right away going right into medical school after college. It gives you the time to travel, maybe work as an EMT or a medical scribe, or do other things that really take some of your time off for you to relax before you start this rather difficult process of 4 years down the road. As always, like and subscribe, and please question and comment below. Good luck.